My mom was having an affair. The boy toy she kept on the side was a whole 15 years younger than my dad, a fresh-faced college kid who'd graduated from some sport academy. The moment she stopped loving my dad, she started scheming against him with everything she had. It wasn't until they were dividing the assets that my dad realized his mistake. He'd registered his company in her name years ago, and now every single thing the family owned was tied to that company. My dad screamed, called her every name in the book, but my mother's face didn't show a flicker of guilt. To twist the knife, she shot me a gleeful, venomous look. "Sweetheart, Mommy and Daddy are getting a divorce. So, are you going to live the high life with Mom? Or are you going to hit the streets and beg with your dad?" I grabbed her hand. "Mom, I'll always be your only son." A smug satisfaction washed over her face. But she didn't understand my meaning. The emphasis wasn't on son. It was on only. Hearing the answer she wanted, my mother couldn't help but cover her mouth with a triumphant little laugh. Good, good, that's my boy. You know how to look out for your mother." She must have been feeling on top of the world. My dad had caved to her years ago, assigning over all the company shares to her name. He'd even put her in charge of procurement and finance. He never imagined that was the moment she started plotting his downfall. If it weren't for his absolute trust, she never could have siphoned off all the assets right under his nose, leaving him without so much as a toothbrush to his name. I remembered when she was in the hospital once. My dad never left her bedside, staying up night after night, taking care of her every need. Thinking about it now, it was all such a waste. But she didn't care. The only thing she cared about now was the boy toy with the 8-pack abs who left her weak in the knees. When my dad found out about him, they had a massive fight. But her brain had been scrambled by that kid's enthusiasm. She wouldn't listen to a word my dad said, and couldn't have cared less about their decade-plus marriage. Finally, tired of his questions, she brought the parasite home with her. She made my dad watch as that bastard pinned her down and went to town, extinguishing any last ember of hope he had for their life together. The truth is, she didn't love me either. She just wanted to lord her victory over her husband. If I chose her, it would be the final, crushing blow. I was just a tool to shatter what was left of my dad's spirit. My father's face went pale. He swayed on his feet, staring at me, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Ethan, what did you just say? Say it again." "It'll be the same no matter how many times I say it," I said, glancing away from him. "I'm going with Mom." A wave of helplessness and despair washed over his face, and it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "Ethan, you're not coming with me? What's the point?" I gestured wildly around the cavernous living room. "Can you give me a house this big? I've got final exams coming up. Can you afford my SAT prep, the one-on-one tutoring? I'm a growing kid. How are you going to make sure I eat well? By working construction? Dad, you couldn't keep Mom happy. You can't drag me down with you, can you? Why should I give up the good life to go suffer with you? She and the board already pushed you out of the company. What do you have to support me with? You could work 10 jobs a day, and you wouldn't make what the company earns in an hour." My dad broke. He staggered back a step, his eyes vacant. "You're ashamed of me now, too?" A flash of annoyance crossed my face. "Dad, is this about me being ashamed of you? The reality is, you can't afford me. You can't give me the life I want. Instead of wasting time trying to convince me, you should get out there and find a job. Figure out how to feed yourself." With that, I turned and walked straight to my room. I didn't look back, no matter how many times he called my name. I didn't dare. I knew if I turned around, my carefully constructed mask would crumble and my whole performance for my mother would be for nothing. Before I closed the door, I saw him, the boy toy, draping his arm around my mother like a conquering hero. "Get out," he sneered at my dad. "Stop loitering. You think you can afford to replace the new rug if you get it dirty." My dad still had a little money, so I wasn't worried about his immediate food and shelter. And right now, I didn't have the luxury of worrying about him. My mother was already laying down the new house rules. From now on, Uncle Kyle is your new father. You will treat him with the same respect you showed your actual dad, understand? I looked at Kyle, who wore an expression of disgust when he looked at me, but was attached to my mother's hip like a needy puppy in private. I was the very model of compliance. I pasted a fawning, eager-to-please smile on my face, showed a row of pearly whites, and gave the bastard a full 90-degree bow. "Hey, Dad." My mother was so surprised by how quickly I adapted that she froze for a second before clapping me on the shoulder, beaming. "Good. You're truly a good son." Kyle was unimpressed. He rolled his eyes. I don't have a son that ugly. Don't try to claim me. He was the flavor of the month, so of course my mom didn't object. She just waved her hand, dismissing me to my room. The second I shut the door, a notification for a $50,000 transfer hit my phone. Even if she didn't love my dad anymore, she had carried me for 9 months. I was, for now, her only blood relative in the world. She wouldn't do anything to me just for Kyle's sake. Not yet. Besides, she had more money than she knew what to do with. She wasn't going to care if I spent a little. To avoid raising suspicion, I spent the next few days going to school and coming home just like normal. You never guess I was a middle schooler whose parents had just divorced. At the same time, rumors started spreading at school that I'd ditched my dad for my rich mom. Classmates started pointing and whispering. My homeroom teacher even pulled me aside for a talk. That evening after school, I went straight to my dad's place. When he opened the door to his small rental, I could see the excitement he was trying to suppress in his eyes. "What are you doing here?" I quickly pushed him inside, shut the door behind me, and hugged him, sobbing silently into his shoulder. My dad couldn't hold it together anymore either. His eyes turned red as he gently patted my back. How pathetic is this? I had to sneak around just to see my own father, terrified of being seen, not even daring to cry out loud. I'm still a kid, though. Once the tears were out, I felt better. I pulled 4 thick stacks of cash from my backpack. "This is allowance for Mom. You take it for now." His refusal was immediate. "I don't want her money." I shoved the cash into his hands. "Why not? You have to take it. Ethan, come back and live with me. How would you support me?" "Just drop it." "I'm not coming back." His expression faltered. "Dad's useless. Your mom tricked me and took the company." "Dad, you're not useless. You just trusted the wrong person. Mom is loaded right now. If I went with you, what happens when she has a new baby with that guy? Are you just going to let our entire family fortune go to some stranger's kid? Everything Nicole's built belongs to me in the end. Kyle, Tyler, whatever his name is, let's see if he can even get her pregnant." A look of alarm flared in my dad's eyes. "Ethan, what are you planning?" "Don't worry, I won't do anything reckless. What you need to do now is get back on your feet. If Mom kicks me out one day, at least you'll be in a position to take me in." Those words became his anchor. "Okay, you just wait. Your dad will never let you be wronged." When I got home that night, my mom charged at me the moment I walked in and slapped me hard across the face. "You little bastard, did you give the money I gave you to your father?" The force of the slap was incredible. It sent me sprawling to the floor. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. I deliberately let a trickle of it escape the corner of my lips. Seeing the blood made her pause for a fraction of a second, but her face was still a mask of pure fury. I looked past her. Kyle was lounging on the sofa in a workout tank, legs crossed, watching me with a mocking gaze. His look said it all. "You think I don't know what you're up to?" When I didn't say anything, my mom kicked me. "Answer me. Did you give my money to that loser?" I pushed myself up, not even trying to hide it. "Yes." Crack, another slap, even harder this time. I hadn't even found my balance before I was knocked down again. A cabinet was right there. I let my momentum carry me, slamming my head into the corner. Thud! The impact rang in my ears like an ancient temple bell, and I almost blacked out. My forehead burned. It had to be broken open. I touched it, and my fingers came away sticky with blood. The sight of a head wound stopped her. She stood there, glaring, panting heavily like she'd been run ragged. Half of it was rage, the other half was probably fear. "Mom, if I didn't give Dad some money, I was going to get beaten to death at school. All the kids at school are saying I'm ungrateful. They call me a money-grubbing little monster." My voice was thick with grievance. I smeared the blood across my face and pulled up my sleeves to reveal a crisscrossing of older, faded marks. I get jumped every day at school now. Even the teachers are giving me lectures about my bad character and corrupt values. I couldn't stand being misunderstood anymore. I just want to see him for a minute, gave him some money so the other kids would stop making fun of me and beating me up. I knelt on the floor, my face a bloody mess, and bowed my head to her. "Mom, I know Kyle Dad doesn't like me. I know you don't want me living here." I wailed as loud as I could. "Please stop hitting me. I'll leave right now." I grabbed my backpack, threw open the front door, and bolted. I was several steps out of the house before I heard Kyle's angry shout from inside. "What are you standing there for? Get him back here. If he goes out looking like that, do you want people saying I can't even tolerate a stepson?" My mom knew I couldn't be seen like this. If word got out that she'd kick me out right after taking me in, who knows what kind of twisted stories would start spreading. But that moment of hesitation was all it took. My blood-streaked face had already been seen by neighbors out for an evening stroll. By the time she dragged me back inside, at least 10 people had gotten a good look at my pathetic state. 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. My mom opened it to find 2 police officers standing on our porch. We received a call about child abuse at this residence. We need you to cooperate with our investigation. My mom had no choice but to stiffly let them in. The first thing the officers saw was me, standing meekly in the living room with a bandage wrapped around my head. The officer's gaze shifted to my mother. What's going on here? Care to explain? Kyle watched my mom's discomfort with cold eyes, offering no sympathy and only a half-hearted attempt at a cover story. Who knows how he did that? Probably ran into something. The officer turned to him. And who are you? Kyle sprawled on the sofa and jerked his chin toward my mom. I'm her husband. The officer nodded with dawning comprehension. Oh, I see. The stepfather. Hearing the word stepfather, Kyle shot to his feet. Who are you calling a stepfather? I've got nothing to do with this brat. Her son messes up. It's her job as a mother to discipline him. It's none of your business. The officer ignored him, turning his attention back to my mom. Is this your son? Where did those injuries come from? We received a report that you were abusing your child, that you hit him so hard his head was bleeding. Is that true? No, officer. I fell down and hit my head by accident. My mom didn't hit me. Seeing my mom stammer, I stepped forward to take the heat for her. I did poorly on a test, and my mom just scolded me a little. She didn't hit me, really. Since I, the supposed victim, was denying it, the officers, after making sure I wasn't being coerced, didn't press the matter. They asked a few more routine questions and left. As my mom and I walked them to the door, the lead officer turned back to warn her. Assaulting a minor is illegal. Even if it wasn't you this time, you need to be more careful in the future. My mom nodded profusely, waiting until the police car was out of sight before shutting the door. Considering you're getting bullied at school, I'll let it slide this time. Her finger was practically touching my nose. But if I ever find out you've given my money to your father again, we'll see if I don't beat you to death. My mom cut off my allowance, and I didn't ask for more. She'd given me $50,000. I gave 40 to my dad and kept 10 for myself. As long as I was careful, that 10,000 was more than enough to last me until my final exams. With the money, my dad rented a small storefront near my school and hired a chef to open a little cafe. He'd started out in the restaurant supply business, so getting back into food service was second nature to him. With a little promotion for me at school, the cafe quickly became a hit with students. In just a few days, it was packed. The food from the school's outsourced cafeteria was worse than slop. The cafe's clean, delicious meals quickly won over parents, who started complaining that it was too small to serve everyone. I knew my dad wasn't just in it for the money. He wanted to be closer to me, to see me every day. But the good times didn't last. After less than 2 weeks of eating at my dad's cafe, the health department showed up for a surprise inspection. Even though all the permits were in order, the inspectors nitpicked everything, claiming the cooking areas for raw and cooked food weren't up to code. They ordered the cafe to shut down for rectification, insisting they were acting on an anonymous tip. In that moment, an image of my mother's face, etched with spite and malice, flashed in my mind. I suspected she'd had someone follow me when I gave the money to my dad, too. This was so frustrating. I had already humbled myself, calling that boy toy dad, and she still wasn't satisfied. That night, as usual, I brought a glass of warm milk to my mother. Mom, your milk. Ever since my dad was kicked out, my mom's mandatory nightly glass of hot milk had become my chore. It was a task assigned by Kyle. He said since my mother was providing for me, I needed to show my gratitude. If the milk was too hot or too cold, I'd get a lecture from Kyle, which in turn would earn me a slap from my mother. The visit from the police had been useless. Their warning had done nothing to curb her behavior. I stood beside her, watching as she sipped the milk. She handed the empty glass back to me. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't fidget like a little girl. I put on my most harmless expression. Mom, was it you who reported Dad's cafe? At my question, she raised an eyebrow, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. Oh, you figured it out? You've already thrown Dad out. Kyle is all over you every day. Why can't you just leave Dad alone? Why? Why does a person kick a chain dog? Why do they fry ants with a magnifying glass? Why do you swat a mosquito? A look of contempt crossed her face. It's all the same principle. If your father is doing well, then I'm not. And you're no different. Don't think for a second that just because you chose me, you're set for life. Not a chance. Her hand drifted down to rest on her lower stomach. The Cole family money is going to your little brother. You won't see a single penny. She stood up. If you know what's good for you, you'll behave yourself. Don't pull any stunts, or don't blame me for being a cruel mother. I'm not your father. Her words cut off mid-sentence. Her body swayed, her legs suddenly turning to jelly, and she collapsed back onto the sofa. She reached for the armrest, but her arm hung limp and useless. Her entire body went slack. A flicker of panic crossed her unfocused eyes. What? What did you give me? I knelt down, my eyes fixed on her stomach, making sure she got a clear view of the manic excitement on her son's face. Mom, you're pregnant? Why didn't you tell me sooner? They say a pregnant woman can miscarry if you so much as look at her wrong. On TV shows, actresses have miscarriages just from getting a harsh glare. But when it came to my mother, the damn parasite in her belly seemed to be welded to her uterus like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Guess that's what you get from a fitness instructor's genes. Stubborn little thing. It took all my strength to drag her to the second floor. Then I let go, letting her tumble down the stairs. But there wasn't a single drop of blood. In fact, she seemed to be sleeping even more soundly. Fine. I laid her flat on her back and started punching her in the stomach, one fist after another. Still no blood. So I turned her on her side against the bottom step and started kicking her abdomen. After a solid 20 minutes of this, my efforts finally paid off. Blood began to seep from between her legs. As soon as I saw the crimson stain spreading across her dress, I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Hello? 911. My mom fell down the stairs. You have to come quick. The dispatcher's voice was calm. Okay, son, stay calm. Tell me your address. There's so much blood coming from. Down there. Is she going to die? What am I going to do? Son, please don't cry. Your mother will be okay. Just tell me your home address. She fell down the stairs. Are you sure she's going to be okay? The blood isn't stopping. Is she dying? Son, listen to me. As long as the paramedics get there now, your mother will be fine. Really? My mom said she's pregnant. I swear I didn't push her. She fell all by herself. It wasn't my fault. The dispatcher's voice was getting strained. Yes, I know it's not your fault. Now, can you please tell me your address? My new dad is going to kill me when he finds out what happened to my mom. Ma'am, I'm so scared. No, he won't. What is your address? I'm done for. My new dad will never forgive me. I should just run away. The dispatcher was on the verge of losing it. So where do you live? I let out another loud sob and hung up the phone. Then I went to the kitchen, warmed myself a glass of milk, and drank it. I placed the empty glass on the counter, then meticulously scrubbed the cup my mother had used until it was spotless. Only then did I pick up the phone again and give the 911 operator our address. I waited until the ambulance had taken my mother away before calling Kyle, who was out messing around somewhere. It's bad. Mom fell down the stairs. She's unconscious. The ambulance just took her. There was a crashing sound on the other end of the line, like plates and glasses shattering. Kyle's frantic voice came through the phone. How is she? Which hospital did they take her to? City General. She's bleeding a lot. From downstairs. What are we going to do? Kyle didn't have time for me. He hung up. So I immediately dialed 911 again. Hello? Police? I'd like to report a drunk driver. That's right. It's a black electric SUV. Yeah, the one with the giant touch screen and all the bells and whistles. The drivers had a lot to drink. I'll give you the license plate. Get ready to write this down. 20 minutes later, just as Kyle's SUV screeched into the City General Hospital parking lot, a police car that had been lying in wait pulled up right behind him. The poor bastard didn't even get a chance to see my mother before the cops were pulling him out of his car and into the ER for a blood alcohol test. The test results showed Kyle's blood alcohol content was over 0.20, well into felony DUI territory. His license was revoked. Because he showed remorse, he was only sentenced to 3 months in county jail. At the same time Kyle was being taken away, my mother, now childless, was finally wheeled out of the operating room. Mercifully, the baby was gone. Even better news. Because of the delay in getting to the hospital, she had sustained uterine damage. while not making her infertile. It meant that if she ever wanted to get pregnant again, she would need a long and careful period of recovery. When my mother slowly opened her eyes, the first face she saw was mine. I sat by her bedside with my back to the nurse. When I saw she was awake, I put on a wicked grin. "Mom, you're finally awake." Almost instinctively, her hand shot out and a sharp slap landed on my face. "You shameless little monster. How could I have raised a son like you?" The nurse rushed over, pulling me behind her. "What is wrong with you? You just woke up and you're already hitting him. You can't just hit your children like that. He's your son. How could you? Your husband's in jail for a DUI. If it wasn't for your son, you'd have no one here to look after you. This boy stayed up all night watching over you, worried sick, and the first thing you do is hit him. What kind of mother are you?" I cower behind the nurse, trembling, and manage to squeeze out a couple of tears, putting on my most pathetic act. "Ma'am, please don't say that. My mom must have hit me because I wasn't taking good care of her. Please don't scold her anymore. If she tells my stepfather when she gets home, he'll beat me to death." Hearing me twist the truth so completely, my mother trembled with rage. She struggled to sit up, pointing a shaky finger at me. "It was you. You drugged me and made me Miss Scary. I'm your mother. How could you do something so evil? And now you have the nerve to stand there and play the victim. I'm going to kill you today." Another nurse slapped her pointing hand down. "Stop blaming the child. How old is he? How could he drug you? You were careless and fell down the stairs, and now you're trying to pin it on him. Have you no shame? If your son hadn't found you and called 911, you'd be a cold slab in the morgue by now. You get a new boyfriend and start abusing your own son, beating him black and blue. You're a heartless mother. Someone as wicked as you doesn't deserve to have children. You got what you deserved." The two nurses started to lead me out of the room. "Come on, sweetie, to have a mother like that. You deserve so much better." Even as I walked out of the room, I could hear my mother's hysterical screams behind me. "Ethan Cole, you little bastard, this isn't over. You murdered your brother. You and your father are both evil. I'm calling the police. You are not my son." My mother did call the police. When the officers arrived at the hospital, they were confused as to why the normally friendly nurses were giving them the iciest of glares. In the hospital room, an officer calmly took my mother's statement. "So you're saying your own son put a drug in your milk, causing you to miss Scary. Is that correct?" Facing the officer's skepticism, my mother nodded frantically. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Arrest that little bastard. He is not my son. He killed my baby. Arrest him and send him to juvie for a few years. Teach him a lesson before he gets out and hurts someone else." The two officers exchanged a look and sighed, changing the subject. "Where did the injuries on his body come from?" My mother, in the middle of listing my crimes, was caught off guard. "What injuries?" The officer's eyes narrowed. "He has multiple bruises and scrapes. Some of them are old wounds on top of new ones. And you're saying you don't know?" Her eyebrows shot up. "I'm the one who called you. You should be asking about what happened to me, not where his scratches came from. Are you people stupid?" The officer's face hardened. "Ma'am, watch your tone. We're the police, not your servants. The person who calls 911 isn't always in the right." My mother deflated like a punctured balloon. "I don't know where his bruises came from. All I know is that he drugged me, and now my baby is gone. Are you going to do anything about this or not?" After finishing the interview, the officers found me at the nurse's station. "From the time you called 911 yesterday until now, have you been home at all?" The nurse beside me spoke up. "No, he hasn't. This boy has been here at the hospital the entire time. He hasn't left for a single minute. All our doctors and nurses can vouch for him. Officers, you have to help this child. You saw him just now. His body is covered in bruises. They say even a tiger won't eat its own cub. You can't let monsters who abuse their own child get away with it. Don't worry, ma'am. We'll get to the bottom of this." The officer turned to me. "Ethan, can you take us to your house?" I nodded. Of course. I rode back home in the police car and let the officers inside. Upon entering, one of the officers went straight to the kitchen counter and pointed at the glass I had left there. "Is this the cup your mother used for her milk last night?" I thought for a second before answering. "Yes, I used that cup to bring her the milk." The officer put on a pair of gloves, carefully placed the cup in an evidence bag, and turned back to me. "Do your mother and her boyfriend hit you often?" "Not often, but if I make my mom unhappy, they'll hit me. sometimes with their fists, sometimes with a belt. And is your mother unhappy often? Not that often, I guess. Maybe 2 or 3 times a day. A collective look of anger flashed across the officers' faces. 2 days later, the police returned to the hospital to update my mother on the investigation. What do you mean there was nothing in the cup? Ma'am, we hope that the next time you call the police, you have your facts straight. Don't abandon your own son for a new boyfriend, and certainly don't try to frame a child. The lead officer's face was etched with impatience, his eyes full of contempt. First of all, we have no idea how a middle schooler would even get his hands on a drug that could knock you out. Second, the only fingerprints on that cup were yours and Ethan's. The only other residue was your lipstick. The milk itself tested negative for any and all substances. We know you resent the child you had with your ex-husband, but you can't just make things up to hurt him. A sharp glint appeared in my mother's eyes. You found his fingerprints on the cup. Doesn't that prove something? The officer gave an exasperated eye roll. Did Ethan warm up the milk for you or not? Yes, he did. He's my son. If he doesn't serve me, who will? Exactly. So isn't it perfectly normal for his fingerprints to be on the cup? He has to use his hands to bring you the milk. Did you expect him to use a forklift? We're all human here. I'm advising you to be a decent person. Be better to your son. You know exactly where the bruises on his body came from. Your son is so terrified he still refuses to admit that you and that man hit him. You should be grateful to have a son like that. If you waste public resources by filing a false report again, there will be consequences. Watching the police leave, my mother, in a fit of powerless rage, started tearing at her sheets and blankets, hurling the pillow to the floor. She probably never imagined that in a case that seemed so open and shut, the police not only wouldn't arrest me, but would actually side with me, joining the doctors and nurses in condemning her. She didn't know that the drug I used was a type of knockout drop I'd gotten online. As a minor, I couldn't buy it myself. But in the building where my dad briefly rented a room after being kicked out, there were waiters who worked at nightclubs. Getting my hands on a substance like that was as easy as asking around. They always had some on hand. Most of the bruises on my body were self-inflicted. For the spots I couldn't reach, I had my dad and a trusted friend help me out, all to make the performance convincing. And it wasn't like my mom had never hit me before. Every time she got mad at me because of Kyle, I make sure my cries were loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Even though it was a neighborhood of large houses, everyone knew the story. The wife at the Cole house had kicked out her husband, stolen his company, and was now beating her son with her boy toy. As for the cup the police tested, I had first washed the cup my mother actually used, scrubbing away any trace of the drug. Then, I poured milk into a clean cup, carefully adding my mom's fingerprints and a lipstick smudge to the rim. The entire plan had been set in motion the moment my dad was thrown out and my mother ordered me to start waiting on her new lover. A week later, my mother was discharged from the hospital. Not ever since my mom came home, she refused to eat or drink anything I touched. She, who used to call herself an independent woman, who never cooked or cleaned, claiming it was a form of patriarchal oppression. What a joke. Not doing housework makes you an independent woman. Then what do you call betraying my father, colluding with the board to steal his company, and abusing your own son? She'd lived over 40 years for nothing, getting played like a fiddle by her own teenage son. With Kyle in jail for his DUI for the next 3 months, my mom went to visit him at the detention center. He yelled at her so viciously that he made her cry. So much for true love. After she got home, she watched me like a hawk. But no matter how carefully she watched, she made one fatal miscalculation. She woke up in the middle of the night to find me standing by her bed, a chef's knife pressed against her throat. She locked her door every night, but she never imagined I'd secretly had a locksmith make a copy of the key, letting myself into her in my dad's old bedroom with a knife in hand. Ethan, what are you doing? Her voice trembled with a fear that was almost addictive to witness. Your father and I may be divorced, but I'm still your mother. You can't do this. You're not an adult yet. If you hurt me, the police will take you away. The cold steel of the blade pressed against her skin. I watched her, a slow smile spreading across my face. You remember you're my mother now. Did you remember you were my mother when you and that boy toy were beating me? You took advantage of my dad's love for you, stabbed him in the back, threw him out of his own home, and made sure he was left with nothing. Did you really think I, his son, will be okay with that? You can't kill me. If you kill me, your father will kill you. Really, I don't think that's how it would play out. Don't forget, I'm your son. How helpless and desperate must I have been to attack you? When the time comes, I'll tell everyone about your affair with that parasite. We'll see who gets the sympathy, you or me and my dad. A sliver of moonlight pierced the curtains, glinting off the blade. Dear mother, I'm going to give you two choices. See how merciful I am. I didn't just slice your throat while you were sleeping. So please, don't make the wrong choice. What choices? First, I might not be strong enough to kill you. So instead, I'll ruin your face. I'll carve words into it. Slut on the left cheek, whore on the right, and tramp across your forehead. You'll spend the rest of your life hiding your face, hated by everyone, living with their whispers and stares. Second, I pulled out a small vial. You drink what's in here. I promise it's not poison or a drug. You won't die. After you drink it, I'll tell you what it is. I moved the knife from her throat to the corner of her mouth. I'm hoping you pick the first option. That way I can tell everyone your dirty little secrets. Don't think I won't do it. When that boy toy was whipping me with his belt, and you just stood there watching, my mother died. I'll choose to. Terrified of the blade, she snatched the small glass vial from my hand without hesitation, unscrewed the cap, and downed the contents in one gulp. I stepped back with the knife, watching as the foul, fishy contents of the vial made her gag and retch. What in God's name was that? They say there's a special bond between a mother and child. Didn't you feel anything? My lips curled into a cruel smile. Looks like the doctors were right. You really aren't suited for motherhood. Her eyes widened in disbelief. You? I nodded gently. That's right. What you just drank was your baby. Not even 2 months old. My dear half-brother. My dear stepmother. That slippery little thing. That was my brother's undeveloped embryo. Till my mother snapped. The next day, she was completely gone. I had no choice but to call a psychiatric hospital and have her admitted. My dad helped me arrange a visit to the county jail to see Kyle. When he heard the news, he was stunned into silence. It took him a long time to recover and ask for the details. Obviously, I wasn't going to tell a guy like him the truth. I just said that my mom had accidentally fallen down the stairs, miscarried, and the trauma of it all had driven her insane. My mom is gone now. You, the boy toy who seduced her, can just sit tight and rot in here. You've got 2 months left. On the day you get out, I'll have a special gift waiting for you. I ignored his furious shouting and left the visiting room. With my mother now declared mentally incompetent, she could no longer hold company shares. Through my father's legal maneuvering, her entire stake was legally transferred to me. A month later, using the shares now in my name, and with the help of a few key business partners he lined up, my dad made his return to the company, retaking his position as the head of the coal corporation. On the very day my dad was reinstated as CEO, Kyle was released from jail. He went straight to the psychiatric hospital, where he found a version of my mother who no longer recognized him. She was sitting in a corner, clutching a pillow, frantically calling it baby. Realizing he had lost everything, Kyle turned to leave, but he was suddenly grabbed by several large, burly orderlies who pinned him to the ground. My dad and I emerged from a nearby office, watching coldly as panic began to spread across the boy toy's face. A doctor approached with a syringe, the thick needle glinting as he plunged it into Kyle's arm. What are you doing? What's in that shot? Relax, my dad said, his voice calm as he stared down at the man on the floor. You slept with my wife. You and my wife conspired to steal my company. I'm just here to thank you. This drug can treat mental illness. It can also turn a sane person into a mental patient. You love my wife so much, don't you? Well, from now on, you and my wife can spend the rest of your lives together, right here in this hospital. A wicked smile spread across my face. Uncle Kyle, I wish you and my mother an eternity of happiness. May you grow old together. The end.